Good morning, Veritas. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. I did not write out these problems, so I'm going to use my screen to help show which problems we're working on, but you should have completed these 3 problems, and we will go over them now. So if you haven't completed them yet, please pause the video and complete the 3 problems on your assignment today for Google Classroom, and then watch the video to see how you did. Number 1 says there are 2,537 people who need to take a boat over to an island. The boat can carry 98 passengers at a time. How many trips does the boat need to take in order to get all of the passengers over to the island? So a key part of that is that they need to take all of the passengers over to the island. Okay, they can't leave any on the island. They got to get all of, or they can't leave any of them without being able to go over. All of them need to be able to go over to the island. Okay, so there's 2,537 people. Each boat trip, the boat can carry 98 passengers at a time. So we're going to divide 2,537 divided by 98 passengers can go onto each boat. So our quotient will tell us how many boat trips that they need to take. Okay, but we also are going to have to think about the remainder because we have to get all of those people over. Okay, so this is the total number of passengers. Each boat holds 98 passengers at a time. So when we divide the number of passengers divided by the number of passengers for each trip, that's going to tell us how many trips that the boat needs to take. Okay, and that's what the question says. How many trips does the boat need to take in order to get all of the passengers over? Okay, so if we had 2,537, we have 98 groups we're making, right? You can't put there's only 2,000, so you can't put 1,000 into each one of those 98 groups. So we're going to combine it with the hundreds. So now we have 25 hundreds. Again, you can't put 1 into each group because there's 98 and we only have 25 hundreds, right? So you can't, if you had 98 groups, you can't put even 100 into each group because that would be 9,800. We only have 2,500. So we're going to keep going this way, and we're going to look at it now as 253 tens. So if we had 253 tens, how many tens could we put into each of these 98 groups? So 98 times what gets us closest to 253? So that's about 100, so it's going to be 2 times, because 3 times would be close to 300. So it's only going to be 2 times. So you put the 2 here above the tens place, because we're looking at it as 253 tens. So 98 times 2, I'm going to do off to the side here, is 196. So then we're going to subtract the 253 tens minus the 196 tens that we just used by putting 2 tens into each group, right? Then we're going to subtract. Can't do 3 minus 6. Let's see, that's 7. Can't do 4 minus 9. So that's 5. So since 57 is less than 98, we didn't make a mistake here. We're good to keep going. Bring down this 7. So now we have 577 ones. If we had 577 ones, we're going to split them into 98 groups. 98 goes into 577. How many times? So that's about 100. That's about 577 is closer to 600, but since this is so close to 100, it's only going to go in 5 times. Okay? Because 98 times 6 would be too little closer to 600 than that is. Okay, so 98 times 5 is 490. Okay, let me just check my math. Yes, 490. So 5 times 98 is 490. Now let's subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. Can't do 7 minus 9. So that's going to be 87. And see how 87 is still less than our 98. Okay, so what we have here is 25 trips with a remainder of 87 people. Okay, so 25 trips with a remainder of 87 people. But the question says that we have to get all of the people over to the island. So if we took 25 trips, 87 people would not get over to the island. So the answer to this problem is 26 trips, because 25 trips means these 87 people don't get to go. We got to get all the people over to the island. So we actually have to take how many trips, everybody? 26 trips. So the answer to this problem, 25 trips would not have been enough because there would have been a remainder of 87 people who didn't make it over. So we need 26 trips. So these are the hard types of division problems that we're going to see on tests like the MCAS, is where they're going to have to make you interpret the remainder. You're going to get 25, remainder 87, and then you have to think, what does that remainder mean? And in this word problem's case, it means that we actually need to take another boat of people. It won't be a full boat, but we do need to take another trip over in order to get all of those people over. So the answer is 26 trips for number 1. Okay, give yourself some snaps. Let's move on to number 2. Let's see. 2 says compute 287 times 165. 287 times 165. I'm going to start in the ones place in the bottom right hand corner. We're going to basically ignore the 160 right now. We're just going to do 287 times 5. So 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 8 is 40, plus the 3 we carried makes 43. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 makes 14. We just write 14 like that because there's no more numbers here to multiply. Then I'm going to cross off the numbers we carried. Our first partial product is 1,435. Now we're done with that 5. I'm going to put a 0 in the ones place to hold the ones place because now we're in the tens place. So we're going to do, it's 6 times 7, but we're really doing 60 times 7. So if we didn't put this 0 here, we're going to end up at the wrong place value. So 6 times 7 is 42. So you write the 2, carry the 40. 6 times 8 is 48, plus 4 is 52. Write the 2, carry the 50. And then 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17. And again, there's no more digits to multiply by, so we just write 17 like that. Our second partial product is 17,220. Go back and cross those off because we already used them. Now here's the tricky part. You got to put 2 zeros with smiley faces here to hold the ones place and the tens place because now we're doing 100 times 287. So watch. 1 times 7 is 7. But notice how this is 165. So that's really 100 times 7. And see how we get 700 like we should because we put those 2 zeros there. If you didn't put those 2 zeros there, you'd do 1 times 7 is 7 ones. But it's really 100 times 7, so it has to be in the hundreds place. Okay? 1 times 8 is 8, and 1 times 2 is 2. And now we're going to add up those partial products. The third partial product was 28,700. Now we're going to add them together. 5 plus 0 plus 0. 3 plus 2 plus 0. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 7 is 13. Let's see, 1, 2, 9, 17, 2, 3, 4. So the answer is 47,355. That is the answer to number 2. To compute 287 times 165 is 47,355. So if you got a different answer than this, I want you to look now at my work. What were your partial products? Try to find out, did you make a mistake with the multiplication? Did you make a mistake with the carrying and then adding that at the end? Or did you make a simple addition mistake at the end? Your job now is to find out where did you make your mistake. That way next time you don't make the same mistake. Okay, and last problem of the day. We're not doing all-star problems this week because it is all optional for the last week. But the problem says, which of the following choices is equivalent to 5/8? And we did a problem just like this the other day. 5/8 is the same thing as 5 divided by 8. Whenever you have a fraction, that is a division problem. So 5/8, just like the division symbol, is 5 divided by 8. 5 divided by 8. So 5/8 is 5 divided by 8. So now we got to see which one of these, A, B, C, or D, or which ones of them, we're going to have to try them all, are equivalent to 5/8. Okay, so let's see. Could 3/8, this is from A, 3/8, 3 divided by 8. So 3/8, does that equal 5/8? 8 times 1 is 8. 3 times 1 is not 5, right? You have to multiply times a fraction that's equivalent to 1. So we just multiplied it by 1 over 1 because 8 and 8 are the same, right? So 8 times 1 is 8, so we multiply it by 1 here. 3 times 1's not 5, so A is not correct. Then we'll go to B. B says 18 twentieths. 18 divided by 20 is 18 twentieths. Does that equal 5/8? Let's see. So 8 doesn't multiply to get to 20. Let me look at these. 18 twentieths, that's about 1. We can't simplify this. Let's try to simplify this side. Okay, let's make this into, we can divide those both by 2. So 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 20 divided by 2 is 10, and all we did was divide by 2 halves, which is the same thing as dividing by 1, right? We've done a lot of this. So let's see, we have 9/10, or we have 5/8. So what are we going to do to figure out if those are equal? So we can make them have the same denominator. So we have 9/10 or 5/8. We're trying to figure out if they are equal. So now I'm going to turn these into the same denominator. So 8 goes into 40, and 10 also goes to 40. Okay, so let's try this side. 8 times 5 is 40. So we have to do 5 times 5 is 25. That way we just multiplied 5/8 times 5/5. And since 5/5 is equal to 1, we didn't really change its value, right? We did 5/8 times 1, but an equivalent fraction to 5/8 is 25/40. Now we'll go for this one and see what this is out of 40ths. And if it's not 25/40, then this isn't the right answer, because then they won't be equal. So 10 times 4 is 40, so 9 times 4 is 36/40. All we did was we took 9/10 and we multiplied it by 4 halves, which is the same thing as multiplying by 1, so we didn't really change it. So 36/40 is not equal to 25/40. So B is not correct. They are not equal. Now let's go to C. C says 5/6. 5 divided by 6 is 5/6. Is 5/6 equal to 5/8? Well, it can't be, because there's 5 of them and they're 1/6 size pieces, or this is 5 of them and there's 1/8 size pieces. So these are not equivalent, right? If you have 5 of these pieces and you have 5 of these pieces are bigger. 1/6 are bigger than 1/8 are, because it's the same whole cut into 6 pieces, or the same whole cut into 8 pieces. These pieces with 8 are going to be smaller. So 5 of those pieces are bigger than 5 of those. So they're not equal. So now we're on to D, and this is the only one left. So I'm pretty confident that this one's correct, but I'm still going to make sure. 15 divided by 24 is 15/24. Is that equal to 5/8? So 5 times 3 is 15. And 8 times 3 is 24. So since all we did was multiplied 5/8 times 3/3, and 3/3 is equivalent to 1, all we did was 5/8 times 1, and we did get 5 times 3 is 15, and 8 times 3 is 24. So yes, those are equivalent fractions. The answer for number 3 is D. 15 divided by 24 is 15/24, and that is equivalent to 5/8. So the answer is D. All right, that's it for today. Have a great day, everybody. See ya tomorrow.